Okay. So here what happens is inside the first condition, we are checking whether any one of these conditions should be true. So if any one of them is satisfied, then the data is displayed to us. So basically what we are trying to understand is how to use and or. These are the two keywords which you will use with the where clause to get some of the filtering done and based on your conditions. So, so far we looked at a couple of options where we can sort by and also with the where clause. So let's look at one option here. I want to now just get all the rows from the employee table, and you can see the job column has several different entries in there, and some of them are duplicated and displayed again and again. Like so, for example, salesman is displayed more than 3 times because it exists here and so on. Now, let's say if I want to figure out what are the different jobs we have in our company, all the employees are holding jobs. So let's see what positions we have. So when I say select job from EMP, it basically shows a list of all the jobs and you can do sort and all that. Like so for example, order by job and it will put all the jobs in one order. But let's say you don't want these duplicates to be displayed. You just want one entry per job. Then what you can do is you can put a distinct here. So what does it do is basically it will show only one kind of job. Okay. So here you see these are the jobs available within our company, and these are the jobs which are occupied by people. So there are 6 different types of jobs all the employees are working in. Now remember that you can add more columns here. Like say for example, you can add DEPTNO. You want to figure out you want to figure out in each department what are the jobs occupied. You can order by department number first and then job as a second column. So here what will happen is now you can see the department 10 has 3 types of jobs. So let me highlight. Department 10 has 3 types of jobs, clerk, manager, and president. Department 20 has 3 types of jobs, analyst, clerk, and manager. And you can see the clerk and manager are repeating, but now because it's a combination of job and the department, it is telling us exactly which department has which jobs. And clerk, manager, and salesman is they work in the department 30 and DBA is in department 50. So those are the different combinations you can use with distinct clause. You can play with this on a bigger, larger data set, and you will see a lot more, and you can try to understand how it is working. So let's check what rows exist in the employee table. I want to show you something with the null and not null because we have not done such queries yet. So in several cases, you see these null columns. That means we don't know the value. Let's say commission. There are some employees who don't get commission, so their value is null. Now, let's say, for example, I want to find out who is not getting commission. Okay, so list of all the employees who is not getting commission. Let's say, for example, where commission equal to null. So just like that. Okay. Now they should work generally, but it doesn't work because null itself is an unknown value and you cannot compare it with the equal to or not equal to symbols. So we use a different functionality here. We say is null. Okay. So commission is null. And what happens is wherever it finds nulls, it will match them and say, okay, wherever the commission is null. And also remember, we also have a keyword called not. You can say is not null, and immediately it will bring out all the columns where it is not null. Also remember, there is a value called 0. 0 is not equal to null. It is not null. So automatically it brings commission as 0 here. And also it is not equal to null. Now, how do you prevent something like this coming out? Let's say, for example, whoever is not getting commission, this zero should not be also displayed. So in that case, you will say, and commission is greater than zero, let's say. So then that zero thing will also disappear. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions, but here we discussed about how to use null and not null. Okay. Let's say, for example, is null or is not null. These are the two options we used. We can run it again. And now here we are saying commission is null and at the same time it is greater than zero. You cannot have these two conditions satisfied. So you can say or here, depending on your condition, it will bring out the records. Okay. So basically here it just avoided bringing the zero row back. There are 15 rows, but we got only 14 output. Okay, so let's add some more columns. Let's see what we can do is, I think we have a phone book table, and let's add another column to it. Let's see this phone book column. So let's look at the phone book table. Phone underscore book table, and let's see what records we have in this table. Oh, we didn't add any records. So, okay. So let me just add a few records here and then we'll talk about how to add other columns to it. So first of all, I want to see what is the structure of the phone book column. I'm in table. So what I'll do is describe table. And you can see here we have three columns: person name, person age, and also phone number. So these are the three rows we have. Okay, three columns we have. Now let's insert some data. Insert into phone book. And I told you that we can use the column names. Let's say person underscore name, comma age underscore age, and then phone number. These are the three columns. And then also you can specify the values by doing values. I'll say person name is ABC, age is 20, and phone number is 97986543210. That is the phone number, and then semicolon at that. Let me maximize this window. Okay, that is the first row. And then let me create two more rows. So we have some data. Now the second one is, let's say DEF, FGH, let's say MNO. And this is a 30, this is a 24, 789. I'm just changing a little bit to make them look like phone numbers. Now let me run the first one. It will insert one row. Second one, it will insert second row. Third one will insert third row. Okay. And when we select, we should see three rows. So now in our table, we have three rows. Let's say, for example, now what we want to do is we want to add a new column to this table. Okay. So here you can see there are only three columns in the table. And what we want to do is we want to add another column called location. So we can record where they live. Okay. So because table is already existing, what we do is alter table, and we are going to say phone underscore book. Okay. Now, what is that you want to do with this alter table? Like what is that you want to do with altering is you want to add a column, and the add column, whatever columns you want to add, you can add more than one column at a time. Everything will go into brackets. So let's say, for example, location is the column name. And you remember initially when we created table, we used column name and data type structure. Now data type is varchar 2 of You specify how much length you want. Let's say 20 characters is the length. Here we are adding only one column, but you can put comma here and make add more columns. Let's say, for example, date of birth, and then you can say date of birth is uh, is a date column, and so on. You can add more columns, but here we are adding only one column. So we just say continue, and you can see here output is table phone book altered. Now, how do you check whether we have a new column added to the table? What you can do is you can describe the phone book table, and then you see this location column has been added. Now, what happens to the existing data inside the table is the data stays as is, but there is a new column called location which is null for all these rows. And obviously, you can use update statement for updating the location of these people. So let's say how would you update? You will say update phone book set location equals to, let's say I will specify first one as New York. For person who is name person underscore name is ABC. Because name is written in lowercase, I'm using lowercase here. So you can see I updated and then it says one row updated. So let's look at the data, and you can see one of the location has been updated to New York. So you can use update statement for everything else. Now, what I want to show you is, let's see when you know how to add column now because you did here alter table add column. Now let's say for example, if you want to, let me describe the table again. Okay. So you can see the person name initially we took only 10 characters. That is a short person name. Let's say for example, if there is a longer name, that name will not fit in 10 characters. So we would like to increase this. Let's say for example, we want to make it 25 characters. In that case, you have to use alter table. Phone book is the table name. Instead of doing add, you can do modify, and modify what is the column you want to modify, person underscore name, and what is the data type. Now what you will do is here you will specify varchar2 with a new length. Let's say 25 is the length. Instead of 10 characters, you are now specifying your person name will become 25 characters. So we are changing this data type to varchar2 of 2025. So let's just do that modify, and also notice that table phone book altered is the message we got. And now let me describe the table again. And you can see this person name has become longer. So now we can keep longer names in our phone book table. So let's look at the data. Data is untouched. Data stays same. Um, there is an issue when you want to decrease the size. Here we increase the column size. So there was no issue. But if you want to decrease, then it will cause issues because data already exists. It might complain about how can you reduce size if data is already existing. So in that case, you have to do something else, like say you have to reduce the data length and then continue with modify. So these are a few things you can do with the alter table. Here, alter table example, here we added a new column, and also we can modify the existing columns data type. We can increase or decrease this length based on whatever we can do, based on the length we need for the column. We are not changing the column name. We are only we are only changing the data type of the column. That's what we did with the alter table there. Okay, so let me show you something with, let's go back to look at select star from EMP, let's say. Now this table has some data, and basically there are employees in different departments. There is a way you can create tables, like, initially we saw one option of create table, table name. Let's say if you want to create table emp underscore department 10, let's say. You want all the people who work in department 10 to sit in this table. And then you will say, for example, what is your columns? Column list is employee number, whatever number, and so on. So you can continue to do this to create your table. But let's say you already have your table and some data also exists. So why don't we copy this data into a new table using a different option here? So what we can do is, first of all, uh, if you see here, we can do a where department number equal to 10. We'll list out only people who work in department number 10. So what we can do is we can say create table, table name as query. Okay, so basically option is you can say, for example, as query. So you can, what it will do is basically it will run this query and take whatever output is there. It will create a new table called emp underscore deptno, and then it will save all the data also inside the table. So let's say, for example, if you run this, you can see here there is a new table created, table employee department 10 created. So let's look at what data exists. First of all, let's look at what is the describe table. Describe emp underscore dept 10. Okay. So if we see this table, it looks exactly like the employee table. It has all the columns we need. And let's look at the data now. Let's do a select star from emp underscore dept 10. So you can see here now we have all the data related to the people who work in department 10. Now that was the query we used here. So that's the reason we got this data. Now there is a neat trick you can do. Let's say, for example, you want to copy the structure of employee table, but you don't want any of the data to be copied. Okay. So, so let me lay it down. So I want to create table emp2. I want a second table to be created. Okay. Only created, like I don't want the data to be copied. Then what you can do is it should be a copy of employee table. So you can do this, right? But when you run this, it will create the table and also dump all the data also. It will copy the data. So we don't want that to happen. So what you can do is here we can put a where clause. And if you see this where clause, let's say, for example, where when you do a department number equal to 10, it will always bring out those rows. Okay. But let's say when you do where 1 equal to 2, this condition will never be satisfied. Okay. This can never be equal. 1 cannot be equal to 2 anytime. So what it will do whenever you run, it doesn't give you any rows. So you can use the same trick here. You can say 1 equal to 2. And then what happens is when you're creating this table, so you can see here, this is the command we are running. Create table emp2 where as select star from emp where 1 equal to 2. This condition will make sure there are no rows. Anytime you run, it will not return any rows, but it will copy the table. Okay, table structure. So here you can see the table emp2 is created. So what you can do now is describe emp2. Let me clear the output again and then run this command. And you can see this table got created exactly like a EMP table. And also select star from EMP2 will not show you any data because we did not copy the data by specifying where 1 equal to 2. This condition will never be satisfied. That's why it is not copying data. Okay, so far so good. We did some more options like say, how can we create a table using a query? Now let's say we have our employee table too, right? So let's take a look at, we'll remove this And also, so we know that employee table has data, EMP table, and also employee two table does not have any data. Now let's say we want to, the table two, the EMP2 already exists. So we want to copy data now. So if we do select star from EMP where salary is greater than 2,500. Okay, so we want all the people who have a salary of greater than 2,500. What we can do is we can write an insert statement like this: insert into emp2, select star from. So what we are doing is insert into employee 2, and the data is coming from this query. So basically, when you run this, what it will do is it will insert whatever rows it finds into the employee 2 table. So you can see 6 rows inserted. And let me show you the employee 2 table now. And it has the data because what happened here is this select statement got 6 rows and those rows got inserted into emp2 table by running this query. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, what I would like to do here is I would like to refresh this tables list. Okay. And you can see all these tables exist now. I want to take that employee 2 table and rename it because employee 2 does not tell me anything. So let's say, for example, I want to put some other name for this. I want to rename the table. So what I can do is currently we have a EMP2 table. I'm going to do a rename. Rename. Um, we can also, one more way to check is select star from tab is earlier I told you about this. Select star from tab will show you all the tables you created so far. And you can see the emp2 table exists here. So what I will do, I will rename emp2 to emp underscore sal greater than 2,500. Let's say I want to make it more meaningful name. So when I run this command, it is going to rename the table. You can see table renamed is the output for this rename command. I'm renaming employee 2 to a new name. Okay. So now if you do a select star from tab, you should not see employee 2, but you should see this new table called emp underscore sal underscore greater underscore 2,500. These table names are like 30 character long, so you can have a long table names. Usually it is not suggested, but you can have. Some systems use whatever possible maximum length. Now when you do a select star from EMP2, it will give error because EMP2 no longer exists. It says table or view does not exist. So now the new table name is, this is your new table name. So we can just put it here and then run the query and it should work. Okay, so what we did here is a rename of the table name. We changed the table name. Now, what else we can do with this? Let's say, for example, we created a table. We put some data in there. We played with the data. Now we can drop this table when we don't need it. We also did a rename. Now I don't need this table any longer. So drop table will take all the, will drop all the data along with the structure. So this table will disappear when I do select a drop table name, and you can notice the message here. It says table EMP sal greater 2,500 dropped. Okay. So now we cannot do this select statement anymore because the table does not exist. Again, you get that message of table or view does not exist. Okay. So let's take a look at what tables we have by doing select star from tab. Just like select star from tab, like a tab is a special table which tells us what tables are created by the user. There is another interesting table called dual. This is specific to Oracle. Select star from dual will if you run this, it basically shows a star or a X here. So what is this used for? Let's say, for example, you want to get 10 output. Okay, so you can say select 10 from dual. It will give you 10, one row output. Let's say, for example, you want to do some math. Let's say 10 into 5, and you will say run. It will give you output of 50, which is calculated value of this. So let's say, for example, you want to calculate this minus 20, and then you want to multiply this with 25, multiply with 25, and then divided divided by divided by 4. Let's say you have a complicated mathematical formula and you can run this, it will give you the result. Okay. So dual is used when you want to run some mathematical formulas or a function, and it will give you only one row output. You can also say here you want multiple columns output, you can do that. So say for example 45 into 9, comma 10 by 2. There are three mathematical functions here, and it should give you three outputs. So here you can see the first column output is whatever is this long formula from here to here. That is the first column. Second column is 45 into 9, this second mathematical formula. And the last formula is 10 by 2, which is this last column here. So the good thing with dual is it will always give us one row output. Okay. Now, what if you do the same thing with employee table? Let's say you use employee table and run this query. What happens is you get multiple outputs. Like say there are 15 rows in the employee table and you get 15 rows output, but same values. And you can actually do a distinct. If you remember, we can do a distinct. So it will give you only one row output. But to simulate this situation, what we did is we just use dual, we'll get only one row. Okay. Dual always generates a one row output like this. Cool. So we can play with functions, and functions are really helpful because the inbuilt functions, there are really powerful stuff inside Oracle, and we'll be using some functions. What I'm thinking is before starting functions, let's take a break here and let's continue on Monday. On Monday, what we'll start doing is there are a lot of functions like say number functions, character functions, date functions, and there are also conversion functions available in Oracle. These are all pre-built, built-in functions we'll talk about. And then once we understand the functions, we can use them within our code. Let's say when we want to write some code, let's say PLSQL code, we can use all those functions within our code. So I will take a break here and we'll continue on Monday to see how to use functions. Okay. Any questions? Or otherwise we can stop here. Okay, Mona Lisa, what is your question?
Hi, Sarma. Remember we had a query that said job in clerk within quotes,
Right.
right? So
So,
you,
so let's say I
yeah,
will write it down for you. Okay, hold on one second. So we have employee table and we'll say where job in, and then you can specify like say clerk is the first job, and then you can specify more here. Let's say salesman.
yeah. Um, my doubt is, does it has to be the uppercase because the output rows are uppercase? So does it have to be uppercase, or it can be in lowercase or uppercase? Is it case sensitive?
Uh, so the so Oracle, this commands can be uppercase or lowercase, but
Okay.
the data stored inside the table is case sensitive. Meaning,
Okay.
if you have data in uppercase, then you have to type this here
It
in
has to
uppercase.
be okay.
See, I
Okay.
will show you one output, right? I will say clerk
Okay.
here in
Okay.
smaller case, and you will not get that clerk output
Okay. Okay.
because this has to be uppercase or lowercase depending on your data.
Okay.
Okay, so data is case sensitive. Commands are not case sensitive.
Okay, Sarma. Okay.
Like say for example here where can be typed as WHERE like this. It will still work because command
Okay.
itself is not case sensitive. But
Okay. Okay.
data is case
Uh,
sensitive.
yeah, that's what the because we are giving inside the code, so I thought. Okay.
No, data is case sensitive. That's why
Okay.
we have to give in a specific order.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other
Okay.
questions?
No, no questions.
Okay. So let's continue on Monday then.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Excuse me.